So it's like 12 o'clock in the morning, 12:16. I've been up since around 10. I came home. It's not easy taking care of an 86-year-old with dementia. So I came home from work and I just kind of fell asleep. And I woke up a lot later than I thought. It was like 10 o'clock when I woke up, and I've been up. And I saw this picture and I'm like, oh, that's some great fan art. But then apparently it's not fan art. This is, in fact, what Renova looks like. And apparently it's not just this. In fact, there is a entire 8-minute trailer or a teaser, Teyvat chapter interlude teaser, The God's Limit. And apparently we are going to be able to finally put faces to the names. So Renova, Easteroth, all these gods that we keep hearing about, we're finally gonna have a face to put with them. Names, like hopefully actual names. We don't know if like they're, it's actually called Renova or Easteroth. Because I live in Teyvat, things have nicknames and stuff like that. But yeah, this is popped up out of nowhere as far as I see in the comments. It's 12 o'clock at night and this released like a few minutes ago. So here you go.
This world has always been so. Life abides no reason, for none are born by their own consent. Death abides no reason, for it cannot be defied, even by those who see it coming. Time abides no reason.
And there we have, at least right now. I don't know what it's going to be like in the rest of it, but we've seen Renova, we've seen Easteroth, who's the goddess of time. So we have at least an idea of what they look like, which people have wondered since we found out who Easteroth was. And now we know that Venti and Easteroth are obviously not the same. Well, we kind of already knew that. Venti was a animo spirit, like a little tiny sprite. And Easteroth is a goddess of time. So why people would think that two of them, both of them were one and the same was ridiculous. He might be able to wield in some capacity her powers, considering he's the Archon of, Mondstadt, and her Venti and Easteroth kind of share the same domain apparently. Of you see all these things relating to Easteroth throughout Mondstadt. So, but it's good to see. Can't wait to see what she actually looks like, though.
For it deprives us all equally, yet brooks not a second to be reclaimed. Space abides no reason. The ruler of space stopped the golden-haired twin travelers and mercilessly tore them apart. No. This looks more like Rhine-daughter's doing. Please don't litter other people's spaces with your bizarre creations.
Unsurprisingly, all life here has been rendered unstable, tainted by the ruler of space. I have seen enough to know that repeating this experiment would be fruitless.
You seem to wield my power as if it were nothing but a plaything for your amusement. Although merging with you has stripped me of agency, I shall still continue to voice my disapproval. My dear Rhine-daughter,
You have my respect, Nibirius. Your nagging is one of the only things that can get under my skin.
All right, so Nibirius is one that Daughter or Gold, Albedo's mom, the creator of Durin, the big old dragon. She with Nibirius, and they are now one and the same. Which makes Daughter extremely powerful. And we know she's a good person. She's a member of the Hexen Circle, and Hexen Circle created by Alice, Klee's mom. So she's not a bad person. So if someone was to merge with one of these shades, I'm glad it was Daughter and not someone else.
And you, Istaroth, why did you bestow history upon them?
I had to find some way to pass the time, did I not? After all, it's clear that Asmodee is not here.
Well, perhaps you could share your input a little earlier next time. But you're right. There's no trace of Asmodee here. Where has she gone?
So Asmodee is the sustainer of heavenly principles. She is the jackhole that separated us from our sibling, and apparently she's missing. I don't know if as part of the heavenly principles, she's also asleep now, because we know for a fact from what Lumine, or our sibling, has told us that the heavenly principles are sleeping. And had they been awake, they would have easily stepped in with the whole Fontaine thing. Focalor pulling one over on them. They were like, she was like, don't you think it was strange that, Fontaine was able to just avoid this catastrophe and sat there, by Celestia, and Celestia did nothing because they're still asleep. So Asmodee is, the sustainer of heavenly principles. Although you saw in the whatchamacallit, the last quest with the time and space for you. We saw it was it was the sustainer. We see her kind of pop up, at least her little portal pop up. She was kind of listening in. So I don't think she's sleeping. She's just doing sustainer of heavenly principle things. Because she was listening in on the conversation that we were having with our sister, or sibling, rather. Although Lumine is, in fact, the canonical Abyss sibling. But yeah, we see her little portal, then it closes up, she disappears. So she's still around, just we don't know what she's doing. Maybe she'll show up here. I don't know.
Anyway, it's time I put this space out of its misery.
These meetings are just a formality. Does it really matter that only 3 of us are here?
I, for one, think that we should find her. Since the heavenly principles cast us as shades, not one of us has ever missed a meeting.
What if she just switched sides? Finding her would do more harm than good.
Now there's an interesting idea. Better than being devoured.
Just switched sides? You make it sound like such a trivial affair. We are shades. Shadows of the heavenly principles. It's unthinkable. Unless she loves her new master more than her own self.
Renova, do you know that you're being watched?
By whom? Whose gaze could pierce this far? I remember those eyes. It was just before I placed the curse of immortality.
Ah, yes. He's an old acquaintance of mine. I'm sure that working for the Tsaritsas helped him let go of his past obsessions.
The Cryo Archon. With her paltry powers, she dares set her gaze on the heavenly principles.
The heavenly principles have yet to awaken. If I were her, I wouldn't pass on that opportunity either.
My dear Rhine-daughter, you know I cannot allow you to think that way.
It was purely hypothetical, Nibirius.
For lack of a direct order, I say it's time we intervened. Of course, to the extent permitted by the rules.
Okay, so we know that now that obviously the Saritsa plans on going against the Heavenly Principles, which we already knew. You know, just the fact of what they've been doing with the Gnosis, the fact that even Arlecchino says that, you know, what they're planning isn't just going to affect a single person or place, but the whole world. And Celestia, the Heavenly Principles, have caused a lot of trouble. You know, they're not even supposed to be there. You know, they kind of showed up, waged war against the dragons, and took their power, made the Gnosis, and you know, you have them like you have someone like Focalor who's like, oh well, I have these Oceanid familiars who just want to be human, so I'm gonna make them human. So she uses you know, water from the primordial sea and to make these humans, and Celestia is like, nope, you can't do that. And then, you know, Fontaine is now condemned to be flooded, despite the fact that they came in and waged war and killed some of the Dragon Sovereign to take their power. So that's okay, but Focalor wanting to create a race of, you know, let her familiars become humans. Oh no, that's just too much. Well, sorry, we can't do that. So Celestia is the reason for Conria, Enconomia, pretty much every civilization we see that's not around anymore. It's because of them. So the Abyss, the Saritsa, they want nothing more than to take down Celestia. And obviously they're going to need the Gnosis to do that. They're also going to need us. And hopefully by then, we will have at least some of the Dragon Sovereigns on our side. We know Neuvillette will be more than happy to take down some gods. He does not like them. So when we finally launch that assault on Celestia, I'm sure Neuvillette and the other Dragon Sovereigns we might come across in the future will be more than happy to assist us, because if it wasn't for Celestia, they wouldn't have lost their power in the first place. So I really hope that it's really a climactic battle. but we'll have to wait and see. But anyway.
The gaze of the gods has always been considered a blessing. Hence the origin and meaning of visions. People have always yearned for the gaze of the gods. And yet, it is said that when mortals look directly upon the gods, they invite their wrath and retribution. And what of it? Lives will be lost, a nation brought to ruins. So be it. It is nothing I have not endured before. I already know the price of gazing upon the gods. So tell me, what is the price of killing a god? The god stays silent, as if the thought had never once crossed his mind. To all those who dare not look up to the heavens, Her Majesty the Tsaritsa says this. Behold, even the gods have their limits.
Inspection over. Return to your posts.
Make sure the Frostmoon Scions don't pose a threat.
Per the Pale Star Edict, we are to retrieve the damselette from Nod Cry, whatever it takes.
So now we know where Celestia is. Apparently, it's right above Nodcry. And I think they do this on purpose. Each time, each update, or each new place we go, Celestia becomes more and more not only visible but like 3-dimensional. Before it was just like a 2D picture just slapped in the sky. But now it's actually like a 3D model. I know people have been trying to get up there through glitches and stuff, but it's really still kind of impossible to do for the most part. But it just, each update that comes out, it just becomes more and more visible and more updated, which shows that they're working on it. But it also moves around a lot. And right now, it's apparently right above Notcry. I don't know. This place seems to move around a lot, despite the fact that it's filled with gods who are sleeping. Maybe Celestia is its own sentient being type thing, and just kind of, you know, wherever there's issues, it'll move around. Because if the gods are sleeping, they should surely have no control over Celestia itself. So Celestia itself might have some kind of sentient being. To where it's able to move around. Because why does it keep moving around if the gods are asleep? It's just kind of awkward. Weird. But we saw Columbina at the end, which is cool. People are excited for her. I'm really happy we got to see the Shades. I mean, Asmodee it's a shame that she wasn't actually here. But we saw her. She was the first thing we saw when we started our journey in the game. So we know what she looks like. We know what she sounds like. So it's not really a reveal. This, I think, was to just kind of reveal them finally. Say, hey, this is what the Shades look like. This is what they sound like. We got to see Rhine-Daughter, which is really cool. But Asmodee not being there kind of makes sense since we already know about her. But the fact that she's not here... and now they're concerned that, like, she's switched sides, which, when we first meet her, she's like, oh, I'm the sustainer of Heavenly Principles and irrigation of mortals and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, what if she already planned to she had already switched sides back then, and what she did was actually for our own benefit? It's like one of those, well, I'm going to do this, and then they're going to hate me. and then they're going to force themselves to go through this journey and get stronger, all to face me. You know, and then when we finally meet, I'll reveal the big plan to them. So it's possible. You know, the fact that even the Shades brought up is like, oh, well, what if she switched sides? So it is possible that Asmodee isn't the enemy here, that she's going to reveal herself to us like, oh, I've been helping you this entire time and keeping my eye on you. You know, and then she'll bring up all these situations where we would have died, where she intervened without us knowing. She's pulling an Itachi or something. Like, oh, come back to me when you're stronger. If you want to succeed and see me die, come back to me when you're stronger. But I love their designs. They look godly. I mean, Easteroth, I don't know if she looks like how I thought she would, but she looks like she's a ruler of time. You know, I'm kind of seeing like a little bit of like Cronoa, you know, from Dragon Ball, you know, the Supreme Kai of Time. She kind of reminds me of that. But it's cool that we get to see kind of like Rhine Daughter, and we get to finally see Renova. So now we have a face to put to the name and the giant eyes that you see in the sky. And it sounds like it's the same voice actress, which is good, because I did like Renova's voice, especially when she's talking to the captain. At that final part, when you hear that hint of like just, he's like, make your choice, and it's like, the curse of immortality must stand. You know, you hear like irritation in her voice. But just to be able to finally put a face to the name and to the giant eyes that we see, is really cool. Easteroth, it's really good to see her. You know, we've known about her since the beginning. Again, you know, there's an entire island in Mondstadt, Easteroth, so she's mentioned all over Mondstadt. So that's why people were like, "Oh, Venti and Easteroth might as well be the same person." And but it's really cool. It just dropped out of nowhere, and I'm glad I was awake and didn't wait till, I don't know, the morning or the afternoon. So, a good thing I just passed out when I got home and I woke up when I did. Anyway, that's gonna do for me. You guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.